Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Block Sauce, your weekly web show that serves up the juiciest discussions in the world of gaming and Web3 culture. I'm your host, Arena T Ambassador Jen Kieran, and today we have an excellent lineup of topics for you guys. So grab your controllers, crack open a Red Bull, and prepare to get your game on. Hey there, sauce enthusiasts. It's time to bring the heat with another electrifying episode of the Block Sauce. I'm thrilled to introduce our panel. We got Jorge, Sinjin, and Dub this week. If you are not familiar with them, you have been living under a rock and you need to watch the previous episodes. So make sure you check those out. We have a super long list of topics this week, so we're going to just dive right into it. I'm sure you guys have seen the Rocket League news. What are your thoughts on that? Rocket League is disabling player-to-player trading.
Web 4 fixes this.
No, I mean, like, it's super interesting to me because I think players that have been super invested into the Rocket League economy, trading the coolest skins, making a badass collection, flexing it on Twitter, I guess, is where they flex it. Like, those guys are going ham and going crazy in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
And that's hilarious to see. But, like, I think that's 5% of Rocket League's player base. Like, I've been playing with my friends for like years. We have skins. We just do the free stuff that we get from tournaments every day. And like, we didn't even know trading was a thing. So,
I didn't either.
So like, yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, I made a post earlier in the week saying like crypto Twitter cares more about this than the actual player base does at the moment, you know?
Yeah.
I would have agreed, but I mean, seeing the comments, I haven't really seen anybody. Web 2, Web 3 doesn't matter. I haven't seen anybody that has been for this move from the Rocket League team. So that actually kind of blew my mind as somebody who has also been sitting here that, you know, gamers don't care about economies. They don't care about being able to trade. They just want to play fun games, right? And to see the Web 2 crowd literally contradicting that, I'm like, wait, but Dub has a point, though. What percent of the player base is it that's mad? Because remember, not every gamer's on Twitter. So just because I'm seeing everybody angry on Twitter doesn't mean that that's the full community sentiment. So there's a point to be made there for sure.
And getting down to why they're doing it, right? I mean, there's that kind of hint within the announcement that, you know, they're conforming to Fortnite's item policy, and then their IP is going to be possibly in Fortnite and some bigger collaboration. And so I think the company probably got a sweet deal, not deal, but like there were requirements for them to more integrate with the entire more Epic Fortnite thing. And it seems though that Epic is going to make interoperable assets across a number of games, and maybe there's a partnership thing going on between certain games that, you know, they're going to have their assets instead of just Fortnite doing like IP from like Marvel or whatever like that. They're going to do IP from other games now within the ecosystem. So interesting play. I'm reading into that from what their announcement was.
Yeah, it's super.
Makes me wonder, like, Sinjin, like, how much are they really learning about Web3, right? In the sense of like, how do you battle Web3? Well, you make the things that happen in Web3 accessible in Web2 without the value, the market, all that stuff, but like still being able to have the interoperability. Because you got to think, like, from an organization standpoint, you know, Web3 can be a huge drain to a lot of these pockets, especially.
That's right.
And so, like, it's wondering, like, hey, man, like, how do we beat them? Like, how we beat them by offering what they have, but just not what they have fully, right?
Well, you know, Jorge, I think it's giving, you know, Web3 too much credit for them to think that, you know, they are even thinking of beating us, you know.
Right.
You know, I'll give an example is that, you know, I had a fintech company back in the day, and we have this thing called T plus payments, right? So back in the day, when you did a wire, you were lucky if the wire came in like T plus 5 days, you know, 5 business days or more. And sometimes you'd have to follow up with it. And then the standard about like 10 years ago was like T plus 3, right? So 3 days, right? But now you have same day wires like T0, right? And the reason why a lot of that came along was because Bitcoin. Because the biggest selling point for Bitcoin was you don't have to wait. You can just kind of do it. And the industry actually took a cue from that and upgraded a lot of their legacy systems and upgraded Swift and so on and so forth, that it was able to do T+0. And so you have the fringe technologies, or not so fringe, but they're kind of gaining traction. And then it's forcing, the incumbents to, make changes. But interoperability of assets was always more of a design issue first, not really a technological issue. Right. So if they're saying like Epic and their ecosystem, then that makes sense. Right. But to make interoperable items like in Web3, it's great. It's just like when Loot first came out. Remember Loot? And then you just have like a text file of like 5 different, whatever, like items. And they're like, people are going to build games around this. And like, it was like 40K. It was a free drop, and it was like 40K, an NFT of these 5 things. But man, that's a lot to build out. That's a lot to design, right? And so, like there's technology, but then there's also design, and for games, they go very hand in hand. So
yeah, and again, look, this is what, the 3rd or 4th week we've talked about big publishers getting away, either like completely deleting, getting rid of some databases and everything. Like it's been in the news several weeks now. So like you have to wonder like what's behind the scenes that they're seeing and saying, hey, like we got to get ahead of the curve here, and yet not piss everybody off.
Yeah, I mean, but when. It's a funny debate, because like in some ways, sometimes Web3 NFT ethos is against gaming, because gaming is not transactional. Gaming is, you build a game because you want to have fun. You build hyper casual games to make money, right? And in some ways, like if you look at the two sides, like of like game developers who are not in hyper casual and game developers who are, the hyper casual developers hate each other. Like they're in competition with each other. They want to get to market first. They don't want the ad networks getting bid up. But like if you're in like what do you call it, original AAA game studio or an indie studio, like everyone's helping each other, trying to encourage each other, right? Because it's a different mentality of what we're trying to do. And so a lot of things where people say, hey, like Fortnite, they would be like awesome if you could start trading skins, right? But as Jorge, you're saying, like if they do that, they're just cannibalizing their own like current cash cow. So why would they do that? So where is that kind of middle ground where, they're progressing with their business models without pissing everybody off? Yeah, I don't know. Like for me, obviously I'm on the side of like, out with the old, in with the new, a new kind of shift with Web3, making that happen. But yeah, I almost feel like we're fighting our own people here,
Well, we are in the sense, because I don't think we've got flushed out yet Web3 like markets, the market values of NFTs inside of games. Like we're still a little far behind on that. Like to be honest, I mean, I always say this. Like I think we're still in year 1 of crypto gaming, right, or GameFi or gaming play to earn, however you want to call it. I think we're still very early, right? We haven't had one breakthrough game that's kind of be like blockbuster. Yes, Steam is allowing a lot of these games, Epic, but nothing has been something that people are like, wow, this Web3 stuff is actually pretty fucking cool, right? Or like, wow, I could, earn and all this stuff. Like the mechanics for them we have not seen an economy that's sustainable just yet. And it's because we don't have enough users, right? Because I'm pretty sure some of these economies and some of these games would be more sustainable if there was a lot more users, but there isn't, and it's still a meta game. And so, like, I think because of that, like, man, like, we're like in that same like little like bubble of like going like a little hamster going up and down the treadmill.
It's funny. I was actually talking in space about that yesterday, because obviously Fableborn hasn't minted out, WAGMI hasn't minted out. And to me, it signals that the era of speculative mints is kind of past. Like that's obviously, I'm not an economist, but that seems like it's a bull market tactic if you're going to do a paid mint, right?
Yeah, that's the change in now that we want fun games rather than investment games, right?
But we don't have enough gamers that want to play these games, and they're not spending that money. So yes, I'm basically agreeing with you 100%. And
Can I
I
put
was
a
just using
nuance
those.
on there? Yeah.
Go for it.
Look, yeah, you know what? I thought that like there were gamers in the market and there aren't. And you know what? And they're saying, we need a fun game. But it's not them saying that we need a fun game as gamers that we want to play. It's we need a fun game to make our investment bags better. Right? And that's a really big distinction because these fuckers are not going to play your game anyways, right? But they figure if it's a more of a fun game, people who are not them will play it or so on and so forth. But I wanted to give like a kind of zoom out, like from a developer's point of view, or in terms of like the kind of cycle of Web3 in the industry. If you think that Ronin is the start of the industry, which I do believe that they are the start, right? They took about 2 years to develop to get to where they launched and they were making an impact, right? Now, all the games that launched after Play to Earn, Axie or Step In or whatever like that, they were not really remaking the Play to Earn model. They were just adjusting it, adding in more like burns and sinks and so on and so forth, right? But if you think from Axie's and its kind of decline in like late 2021, right? And then now it is late 2023. See, that's the 2 year for any game that was kind of developing, one that was, a game that's kind of tight for kind of real new, kind of real second phase coming out. Like almost everything in between Axie declining and the last 2 years, right? It just hasn't been enough time for a next model to come out, right? But it's not about like not enough gamers. I think it's just that no one's ready. Like I can come here as a builder and I can say, yeah, I figured it all out, right? But my game's still not done, and my game is relatively straightforward and simple, compared to a lot of other people. But it's a new model, right?
Well, so let me ask you this, because it was brought up what Web3 hasn't really like appealed to gamers. What is Web3 currently doing for gaming that couldn't be done without Web3?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
What is Web3 doing currently that we absolutely have to do with Web3? Like you cannot do it in Web2.
It's number one, I would say, is the token incentive model, right? So I think it's
that's already in Web2 as well.
How is that in Web2?
World of Warcraft, they have their own token, and I can extract and go and convert it to their in-store currency. So there's already play to earn. There's already a token available that does fluctuate with price on a day-to-day based on supply and demand. Literally all of the economics that we have in Web3. The only thing is you can't off-ramp to fiat. That is
the difference. That's
where you're landing,
right?
But all they have to do is add a PayPal off ramp. That's all they have to do.
Yeah, but they haven't, and they aren't. And there's a ton of legal stuff that they'll never cross to do that.
But let's say they do that let's say for argument's sake that's a valid point.
They did it in Diablo 3 though. Yeah. So they have done it already.
And that was a total whatever.
It was a disaster. Yeah, it was a mess.
But one part of that is that it's not just it's multifaceted in the sense that it's I hate to use the word synergy, but it's creating the synergetic structure, right? So the second thing is like the actual digital asset, right? So the NFT is something beautiful in the sense that it is an actual like non-fungible digital asset where you have ownership. Right, off platform.
Hang on.
Okay.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. So how does that improve the gameplay experience though?
Right. So that's exactly it. So if the token incentives, right, that you have that, allow you to, enjoy the game more, but those token incentives also are somewhat investable into your digital assets. Right. So imagine if you have if you think of your digital asset as whatever, a virtual apartment, and, the money that you earn in the game economy can go to better that apartment. And then you could resell that apartment as well on a secondary market. Right. This is opening up a kind of true open economy within the game itself. Right. And so that virtuous cycle, which is really dependent upon gameplay that, really drives transactions. Right. Which is driven again also if these assets are robust enough and actually hold value. This is where the real value proposition is. I said this what word did I use? The Trinity. I didn't use the word Trinity, but it's kind of like the Trinity of what Web3 should be. Everyone's concentrating on certain components, right? But they're not concentrating on what the 10x value is. right? So, that's the model that, I've been trying to figure out, or that I think I have figured out. But I will say that each game genre will have a different model of where that works and a different emphasis on it.
So this is the example that I give people because this is where I really see the benefit as somebody who likes to collect. If I go into Fortnite and they have a skin that's labeled rare or ultra rare or super rare, how do I identify that? I can't. It's on sale for a limited time, so they're playing on FOMO, and a million people could buy the same skin. Is it really rare if everybody has it at that point? That's where Web3 has a benefit, because if I'm a collector and I want the coolest, most rare skin that I can buy, I can verify that before making that purchase. All that information is available, so consumers can actually make more informed decisions beyond just, it looks cool, so I'm going to spend extra money, right? Because let's be honest, the rarer a skin is in these games, the more expensive it is. I just spent probably, I want to say like $150 on Call of Duty Mobile trying to get this super awesome rare skin. And then next thing I know, I see like everybody using it in all of my matches. And I'm like, well, I could have bought an NFT with a cooler skin at a lower price point and I could verify that it's rarer. Right. So there is benefits. I just pose that question as kind of a devil's advocate because a lot of people aren't finding ways to make people care about the Web3 side. Yeah. And I think that's the problem, is people don't care. And when you enter a subpar gaming experience and you're not there for the tech, and the tech is the main selling point right now, it's going to be hard to keep people involved, I feel like.
It's so hard because even listening to you explain it, like, I really don't care that much about that. Like, I don't care if I have to go verify that it's rare or not. Like, I trust the game to make it that way. Otherwise, the community would blow them up. I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing is money here. Mm-hmm. Like, and the ease of going from, hey, I'm playing this game and killing minions and paying my goddamn rent with it. Check me out.
But
like that's the biggest thing for me, I think. And like everything else is like maybe 2% of the population really cares compared to like the money aspect.
But that's why I like how League of Legends does it. They don't do the rarity system we're used to, right? If I buy an ultra skin, because they don't call it rare, epic, or anything like that, to my remembrance, it's been a while. But if I bought an ultra skin, those were their highest tier of skin, and they usually cost, I think it was like $50 to $60, and it seems expensive. But once you see that you get custom animations, you have custom voice lines, you have custom recalls, there's so much more to it than just the skin that I can justify that price. But in a game like Fortnite, when all I'm getting is a skin, I don't get custom emotes or anything like that. Hell, I have to go buy the emotes separately, and I'm just relying on Epic. If they tell me it's rare, I assume it's rare. But
it's interesting that
how do you know?
Jim Karen, you actually answered like I was going to pose a question, but like when you're a collector in a game, right? Like there's one level where you're collecting because of rarity and scarcity and perceived value, and there's another one because you want to enjoy the game more, therefore you buy the skin, right? And then that latter one is because you enjoy the game and there's a utility there, whether it's like inherent emotes or whatever like that. And the other one is you're just a collector, right?
Yeah.
But I would argue that like if you're saying like Web3 should be about collecting and you divorce it from the gameplay utility, right? As a value, right? As a value add, right? Then I think it's a pretty dead end, right? Because ultimately, and I'll give the best example I can give, like when you divorce things or how powerful the game economy can be for certain games. Okay. Let's say that we're all to play blackjack at my house. Okay. But I would say, guys, we're not going to play for any bunnies and there's not going to be any chips on the table. And it's just an effective game of 21. We're going to play that for all of like 5 minutes and say, fuck this game, it's fucking boring as shit, right? Now, if I say we're going to play for shots, okay, it could be crazy, but we're going to end up like, playing for like 20 minutes will be wasted. But if I say, look, I'm going to run this non-illegal casino between friends and here's the chips, but I'll be the house, okay? And I'll give you like some kind of edge or whatever like that. You can like whatever, double down as much as you want or whatever. And we'll only use like 3 decks, okay? Mm-hmm. We're going to play for 10 hours as you guys fleece me as much as you can, right? Because of the coins. It's the same thing with poker. My son and his friends know my background, and so they're like, Daddy, can you teach my friends how to play poker? I'm like, okay, and then get the chips out, right? And I'm like, it's such a pain in the ass. And so I'm like, not a great dad. So I'm like, okay, fine. I like do it like once a month, and we get the table and the chips out. And they're like, well, can't we just play without the chips? I said, forget it. If we play without the chips, I'm not gonna like teach you how to play because you totally missed the point. Because if you play poker without chips, you can't bluff. And if you can't bluff, that means that whatever the random cards come out as they come out, that's what you win. But the whole point of poker is no matter what card you have, whether they're good or bad, you could still win the hand, right? And that's where the skill element comes in, right?
I'm so glad poker just got brought up, actually. Sorry to cut you off, St. John. We played poker last night in the Wolvesdale, and I bluffed my way to Trekkie getting kicked off the table like right away. And it was fucking awesome.
No. I mean, I started off hot. I started off really hot, and then after I started off really hot, I realized that maybe Dub does know how to play poker, and I was like, all right, maybe I got to like step back. But as soon as I stepped back, then Peyton, who doesn't know anything about poker either, started doing really well as well. And I was like, all right, I'm playing with two amateurs. Like, this is really tough.
It's actually tough to play against amateurs.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's tougher to play with amateurs because you don't know whether they know what they're doing or not. And this guy over here is like betting, like full all in. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? And I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
And we were playing for shrapnel extraction packs, and we were getting competitive because of that. Like it just, you're so on the point, Sijin, with like, it's like playing poker without the chips. And that's going to be like
this actually, it's a good segue into Big Time, which is our next topic anyway, because they recently added the economy to the game. And I've been playing Big Time off and on. I'm a Jade Pass member. I've been playing since that access went live. I think that was like a year and a half ago at this point.
God, almost two, actually.
Yeah, and it has been a fun game, but it's not one of those games I want. Like I wake up in the morning and think, oh man, I can't wait to play Big Time. However, with the introduction of their crafting system, I've found myself playing even more because with the way that they set up new economic objectives, because yes, they might not have added like raids or PvP or like that other type of content, but adding the economic content gives me a reason to log in every day. I'm trying to craft the hourglasses so that way I can help me or my friends start earning the token. And then once we start earning the token, then we can start crafting the various skins and NFTs. So this actually, it's kind of like I'm eating crow right now, because I've always said that the economy doesn't help the gameplay, and that can be all external. Focus on the gameplay. Focus on the game. I'm eating crow right now because clearly the economic systems, if done in a certain manner, can contribute to the gameplay. Absolutely. It can give players new objectives and give them reasons to log in. What do you guys think?
To a certain extent, right? Because
of course.
Again, one of the things that I get nervous about is releasing these games a little too early, right? And you're hearing, all these bugs, all these things, and then all of a sudden the economy tanks. What would the reward system look like for Big Time, right? It would hurt the game completely. And so to me, it's like, man, like, unless the game is like 95% ready to market and like that's your beta and like you're going to go cool, like that makes a lot of sense, because the improvement from 95 to 100% is going to be very minimal. It'll probably be just like, like very little things. Whereas like, I don't know, Big Time, again, it's like, to me, it just, again, like, I don't know if it was pressure from investors, pressure for some, like, again, these guys have been building for a long time, right? These guys probably are under a lot of pressure, like most of Web3 games are, to deliver something, to just put it out. Hey, great token, let me pump it because I need to cash out my money. Who knows? It's like there's too many like unknowns on why you would push it so fast, right? And look at the approach of the way they pushed it too, right? Not to say there was a lot of shady shit, but there was a lot of shady shit with like the way that they put out a lot of the token and like talk to content creators, like too many things that were broken within that makes you even add more into the wanting to know, well, is this game like really like going to be around for 3 months and that's it? Who knows? I don't know, but it's tough.
To also be clear, their economy is currently broken. Just because the token is pumping does not mean their economic model is working. When you go inside, their economy has two different things that are built. It's around getting the token Some people are going to cash out that way, but it's also about this crafting element. And it's called the race to the unique, where it's like, okay, it takes 2 commons to make an uncommon, 2 uncommons to make a rare, so on. And they have like 8 different rarity levels and it's basically supposed to be a global effort of kind of guild versus guild crafting these items, trying to compete like, oh, is YGG going to get the unique item first, or is it going to be this? There's only one. But when you look at because everyone who has space and has one of these like forges or armories like we do, you can see exactly how many items have been crafted so far. And so far, it's like very small numbers. A handful have made it to epic. No one has crafted a legendary yet. Like everyone is participating and trying to get a token and driving the hell out of the prices of the time wardens and everything like this, and completely not participating in the gameplay and crafting side of this economy, which is like their economy. So like, are people going to stay retained after the token dumps and follows the normal model we all see and start crafting items and keep the race going? I mean, that's the biggest thing.
So the race is still going. The reason you're not seeing a bunch crafted is because there is a real world time limit. For example, for me to craft a common hourglass takes 24 hours per hourglass. And like you just mentioned, I need 3 to upgrade to the next rarity. I did the math. For me to get a rare, which is only the third lowest tier, it's going to take me about 27 days to get a rare. And you're talking, there are people who have already crafted epics. That means there is the community effort going on. It is working as it's intended. But this is something that is going to take time. Like that's the thing that I think a lot of people didn't have a grasp on, because it wasn't really revealed before this drop, was that real world time and having to wait on these crafts for so long. Another example is recharging hourglasses. If I want to be able to use my hourglass to farm tokens, to use it for 12 hours, I have to recharge it for 60 hours. So they have a bunch of slowdowns and real world waiting in place to minimize like people just looking to extract. And I think that that's actually going to work in their favor, because on top of that, to craft these hourglasses and enable earnings, you have to use the premium currency. And that premium currency, it's not a token, that's straight revenue for them. And I'll tell you right now, I've already spent at least $25 buying the premium currency just so I can craft more hourglasses, so I can either sell them, trade them to friends, upgrade them, whatever the case may be. So I think the economy is working. Now, as far as it being sustainable, that's where I'm not sure, because my question was, well, what happens once all the hourglasses are crafted? Do they all of a sudden tank because you can't craft anymore, or do they go up because you can't craft anymore? And if they go up and they're extraordinarily overpriced, how do people buy in at a reasonable price and start earning? Because to your break-even point, even right now, if you buy an hourglass, I think the last time I checked for the lowest tier was like $44. If you spend that $44 and then you go try and farm the token to recoup that loss, you're going to be farming for a hot minute. Like, it's not something you're going to make back your earnings very quickly. So I think they're going to have more money coming in than going out. But it's really hard to say right now, because everybody's going to try to find a way to game the system and maximize earnings. So
well, that's the thing, right? Is like, think about how many. Remember when Big Time came around? It's been 2 years, right? In the height of the bull market and all that stuff. Remember how many guilds bought into Big Time? And like, I would love to know, some of the guilds that are probably dead right now are coming back to life and just checking on their value to cash out, right? I'm wondering how many people are looking to cash out rather than play the game, right?
They literally can't right now. It's all because all their investment is in space, and no one is buying the space.
Space
the value is tanking in space.
No, space prices are going up. I just bought one. I bought one. I think it was Sunday. I bought one, and then within 24 hours, the floor price went up $30.
Yeah, but not exclude everything above the rare tier, because the guilds only receive the rares, and the rares are freaking tanking. Like the guilds can only rent these things out. They cannot, which requires the scholar that they're renting it to already have cash in their account to be able to do the rental in the first place, which doesn't work for all of the guilds. Not a single guild is activating their scholarship model with the current economy, because it doesn't work. Still, so like there's a whole untapped bit to this too.
There's another element that goes in there, which I don't know if they posted it somewhere else or where it was, but you can't use a higher tier like crafting workshop unless you have the same or higher tier space. So those rares, the reason they're tanking is because essentially they're not useful. You can't craft the higher end stuff with them. So people are trying to dump all the low quality stuff and buy and grab as much of the rare stuff as they can, because that now that everybody's starting to understand that, they realize the higher rarity stuff is going to have much more value because you'll get access to so much more crafting and much rarer items that'll sell for much higher prices. Let's be honest, that's what people are doing it for. When it comes to the guilds, you're right. They're not going to care about the common and the rare stuff. They're going to go for like legendary and above. So I agree with you there 110%. I don't know. I'm interested to see how it plays out because the economy as it was advertised isn't quite what it feels like we got, because we were never informed that there were going to be even withdrawals. And the same day that they launched preseason, now we can withdraw NFTs and the token. So now I can just buy the token on secondaries anyway, or exchanges anyway. So
yeah, I mean, people could pay their way to legendary and shit right now, and they're not. And that's what I'm calling out, is the fact that like it's just so token heavy. In all of your examples, you're talking about the hourglasses, but what about the forges? What about the armories? Like, I don't know. It's just so funny that people are degening so hard into the token aspect of it and ignoring the entire gameplay economy loop and how that
that's
works,
the thing. That's why I was focusing on the hourglasses, because without the hourglass, you can't farm the token. And if you can't farm the token, then your forge and your armory becomes useless. So at the core of it all,
you can buy the token then and use the, like people should be buying the token to forge the items and then to resell because there's a profit loss there. But that's not happening at all.
But is there a profit? Are the skins selling better than the token?
That's the point of the economy.
Here's the thing then, right? As soon as you divorce the assets, right, from the gameplay, the game's fucking broken. That's it. So what ended up happening in Diablo 2, right? People started trading and dropping shit and whatever like this, and because players wanted to buy it because they wanted to progress the game. They love the game so much. Right now, Diablo Blizzard thing, that's a fucking great idea. Why don't we just skip this shit and then let's do an auction house, right? But what ends up happening is when they do the auction house, right, it divorces the game between the items and the gameplay, because the traders are so efficient at trading using the auction house that you can buy your way in, and then the game becomes shit because now instead of like grinding for anything or anything that's rare, it's no longer rare if you have the money to spend for it. And it makes it a pay-to-win game. But Diablo was never meant to be a pay-to-win game, in the sense that once you make it a pay-to-win, that Diablo 3 became a shit game because it became boring at a certain level. There was no excitement. There was no feeling of achievement. And the content itself, had it had like an ultra mega fucking 666, like mode more than hell, maybe that would have whatever. But the items basically, you were able to get like better items before your level or at your top level, and you're able to just like treat every single level as if it was a normal level, right?
There is a bit of a difference here though, because unlike Diablo, these are purely cosmetic. Diablo was selling you actual gear with stats and abilities and stuff like that.
Even if they're purely cosmetic, that's even more so, because only games that are extremely loved do cosmetic skins have any value. Right? So that even means even more so that, the only utility is you love that game and you want to buy skins because you want to support the game and you like flexing in the game, right? I buy Diablo 2, Dota 2 skins only because I love Dota 2. The only reason why I bought like Fortnite skins at the beginning was because I was like doing research with our own game on rigging and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, these emotes are fucking great. I bought every single dance emote in like Fortnite, right? But I didn't mind to, because they were done so well, and the interoperability of the emotes, that they were also rigged so well to each and every different character, made me feel there was a lot of value, right?
That's true.
So these are kind of points. But to go back to Jorge's one of the earlier points, is that the whole problem is that if you get the economy wrong and it's not tied to gameplay, right, that as soon as the token value drops, no one's going to play the game because there's no more incentive to play the game, right? So right now it's like they're doing the token economy from what you guys are saying, like that's kind of divorced from gameplay, right? Now, if for whatever reason that token drops, that second segment is just like going to drop as well because there's no point to mint because it's not profitable, right? And if it's not tied to gameplay, there's no incentive to actually do the gameplay then as well. Because if the game's not fun enough, then why even get a legendary item? What was it going to really give you? Especially if you're going to use it to get tokens, but now the tokens have been fucked because of the hourglass whatever system, and then the game's fucked.
I mean,
right?
even thinking about the carrot at the end of the road, right? Like the unique items, the one of ones, that goes to one motherfucker. Like, why would an entire group and thousands of people go and rally to make one dude look cool? Like, I mean, cool. If I got an army of people that want to make Dub look like a golden god somewhere, sweet, let's do it. But like,
well, I could give you an answer for it from a game design perspective. Like the old games, like Korean games, like Lineage and stuff like that, where you had to take over a city, right, or a castle. Or if you look at like Total War, Warhammer, where like one particular unit has so much power, right, that the hero in like your kind of like army, that for your guild you have that mega weapon, right? Then it's like kind of like the staff of whatever. That it's basically it makes your guild, if you're fighting as a team, better, right? But then we're talking about more macro level gameplay, right? Which won't come out or could come out like maybe 1 or 2 years later, right? So this is the reason why games that have that kind of level of depth, right, they're taking 5-6 years to come out, because these like ultra items only make sense really at this level of gameplay, right? If the level of gameplay is very thin and you have like these ultra weapons, exactly, like what are you going to use them for? One guy? And then what is going to be the return? The glory of having the guild with the staff,
So there is kind of a discussion that I think ties in with the next topic, which is parallels, because you talk about separating, the Web3 stuff, like the assets from the game and stuff like that. They're going to be launching on Steam, and in order to do that, from my understanding, they will have to remove the Web3 elements. Do you think that Parallels is in a stage where they would find success doing that, or do you think that most of the player base is still revolving around earning Prime and the competitive element?
Yeah, 100%. I know for a fact there's Hearthstone players today that are playing only the Web 2 way of Parallel, not interacting with the tokens as well, and having a great time, and are like freaking top 3 players on the thing right now. And honestly, this Steam launch is just an SEO play. Like that's all Steam launches are, right? Like it's a great visibility and search engine tool to get your game in front of players, and maybe Steam will one day, maybe they won't, but for sure, Parallel has a very solid Web 2 experience with the apparitions, the random cards, collecting them that way, and you don't have to participate whatsoever in the NFT side of it.
Yeah, and Parallel structured it that way, so it's not like a big thing where they're hiding it, because like the NFT side was always like, if you want to earn, then yes, this is the option, but like here it is. Whereas a lot of other games, they haven't structured it that way, so they're literally not enabling the NFT side to be on Steam, but they will have to figure out a dual, solution there. Like my particular game, I don't think I could launch it without a token. It would just be like playing poker without chips, and it's fun if you want to blow each other up, but like that gets old pretty fast, I would say.
Yeah.
I would agree, just because, I've compared it to Worms a lot. I love Worms, but if you compare like audience sizes, Worms is a very niche genre of game. And I think in your case, having the token and being able to like wager and play against other people, like there's a lot of options that open up with that and make it a lot more interesting, and probably would retain people better than Worms did.
Well, no, actually Worms wasn't a niche game. It was actually a hit game when it was released.
Once upon a time, yes.
Yeah, once upon a time.
Modern day.
Right? Oh, modern day, I wouldn't even say it's a niche game. It's like kind of a historical game.
A gaming community at this point.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a historical game. It's like Pac-Man.
They're still launching games. I don't know if there's players, but they're still launching them.
No, I don't think they've launched a new version for like
maybe
many
a year
years.
or two.
No. It's been a while. They did like a
No, they had
3D,
that like Worms
First person
Rumble. It
shoot.
was like a BR type of Worms. It was really weird.
Oh, maybe some, maybe some. But you know, that game when it was released was like every single high school kid at every single school played it.
Yeah.
You know, at the time, yeah,
That and Pocket Tanks.
Huge, it was a huge game.
Oh man,
it was a huge game, yeah.
Oh.
But anyways, but point taken, yeah. And then that's the kind of simplistic kind of game, but everything with our gameplay is related to the economy.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know,
that's where your poker without chips analogy begins to make sense to me, you know?
Yeah.
I can tell you Colony definitely won't be listed on Steam. That core bit of that is on chain, right? It's entirely on chain. So like,
well, they're also using AI, which Steam has a stance against. So
oh jeez, okay,
yeah,
really not allowed.
Well, AI assets, yeah.
Yeah, I think like from Big Time to Parallel, these are phenomenal case studies for what you're building, right? And looking at it on several standpoints of like, what is the proper way to release or even introduce the economies with the game that you are building. I think like there's a lot to learn from Big Time and especially Parallel, right?
Oh yeah.
In some ways, yes, but like honestly, like I'm drawing upon my background in establishing poker in Asia where there was zero liquidity, right? And so one thing though, why I'm so not bullish on mobile opening up Web3 is because it doesn't have its own marketing channels. Whereas with PC, right, you know, it'd be nice to be on Steam, it'd be nice to be on wherever, right? But if you want to, you know, push, you know, direct downloads with PC games, you can do that, right? With mobile games, you can't because you don't own the hardware, right? So like everyone's talking about, like we talked about this last week, like side loading. That's not a great experience. So what if you have non-custodial wallets, but it's like a, you know, a web app, right? It's just garbage, right? But in terms of like the learnings, I think certain functionalities it's great to look at, but these are very different genre games as well. And you know, that's the other thing, like you monetize based on different genres, right? But in terms of launching to the market, I think you know, I love Koji, I love the Parallel team, I think they're great. Big Time, I'm kind of like I'm like kind of neutral opinion on it, but you know, they said they were really the first monkeyer of, you know, the first AAA game for Web3, right? So these guys have been the bane of my marketing existence, you know, because they set this kind of thing up, right? And I'd be like during meetings, like, and I'm a pretty no bullshit guy, so they'd be like, "Oh, your game Meiji, so is it AAA?" I'm like, "No, we're not even a single A title." And they go, "Oh, Meiji, like, is it an esports thing?" I'm like, "I wouldn't fucking use esports for anything to describe." No, they're like, "So what is it?" And I'd be like, well, it's a game. It's, you know, yeah, it's you know, it's a game that's like appropriate for what we're going at, but like people. They think that they understand game economies. They don't. They really don't. People think that they understand game development. They don't really understand game development either. So all I can say is that that's my whole point, is that the reality is of the conversation is that, you know, what Jorge is saying as well is that, you know, with Parallel and with Big Time really getting into the market, this is where now we're going to have some real discussions, because everything else was all speculative bullshit based on like whatever experience you did have, right? Or whatever. Now when the game is actually playable, like if a VC comes up to me or someone says, you know, Sinjin explained the game, I say, why don't you jump on a demo with me? And if they don't have time for that, then I say, okay, then fuck off, you know, because it's a fucking game. Like, you know, you want me to explain the game, let's just fucking play the game, right? And if you can't play the game with me, then you're a fucking useless. Oh, sorry, I can't use that word, but you're a useless piece of shit.
Wanker.
In my opinion. Yeah, wanker, useless wanker. And, you know, go fuck off and go wank off somewhere and, you know, get your tokens and dump it on somebody else, right? But if I have an actual game demo, let's just play the game and then let me explain it to you, right?
But that's exactly the problem in the VC spaces, right? Is that like a lot of these VCs didn't know anything about gaming, but knew about investing in Web3 and have made a lot of money in Web3. And then they saw everybody has, until this day, is being preached that Web3 gaming is going to be the next bull. And so if you're a VC, you're like, oh my God, we got to go invest into these games. And then they look at these games and they're just like, they don't know really anything unless it's stuff from their childhood where like they think they knew things back then, where it's kind of evolved at a whole different stage. And so like sometimes it's like, oh, it doesn't have the graphics. Well, graphics don't always have to sell, right? Like it's so many different types of loops that you need to create.
Man, the graphics argument. I this is my example to everybody. When graphics come up and people talk about, oh, it's got to look pretty. I still play the original Final Fantasy VII. I've beaten it at least 3 times. I can't get past 20 hours in the remake. Graphics do not make a game. Gameplay makes a game.
Yeah.
Graphics make it immersive, right? But the thing is, for development, like, so we had our VS1, all right? So vertical slice 1, it's the first time we put the entire game together, right? And I said to the VC, I said, okay, well, here's our VS1 and here's a clip, right? And the VC says, oh, my head analyst, he doesn't like the graphics. I'm like, are you actually investing in video games?
You told me
like,
that.
I told them, yeah, it's a VS1. Right, and the analyst's first comment was, "I don't like the graphics," right?
Oh my god!
But they couldn't, so it's all bullshit, right? But I'm not gonna like come out here and just say, "Oh, all VCs are bad" or whatever like that, because like I'm laughing my ass off because, how do I say? They dumped on these games, and these game studios who took the money to get dumped on. I mean, they were dumb as well, right? And so, I think like, that's a whole circle jerk of whatever. It's not actually applicable, right? Like I said, like from a game designer and game developer's point of view, there's Axie, and then there's this 2-year development cycle to get to where the next real games are. And that can be Parallel, that could be Big Time, that could be our game, or that could be whatever. And now, we're going to debate based on gameplay and the real economy in the system, right? Now we're going to really talk. And any game that's actually good, people always say as well, like, look, okay, you can't rely on a good game alone, that, the marketing is part of it. Absolutely. But we're not talking about a red ocean here. We're talking about blue ocean. If the game really is a truly good Web3 game that's actually, harnessing, gameplay, driving transactions, being supercharged by tokens as incentives, being invested into, digital assets as NFTs, which are all tradable on a healthy secondary market in a sustainable open economy. I know that's a mouthful, but if you don't have that, you're not really doing Web3 here, right? You're not really doing it justice. But the games that have some semblance to that or some structure for that, now let's have a fucking conversation,
Yeah, and for me, I quickly wanted to go back to like taking examples from Parallel and Big Time with launching and everything. I think token launches has a lot of things to look at now. The way Prime has rolled out through the Echelon Foundation in this model that's going to support other games and whatnot, it's really interesting. It's like a DAO structure. I really like that way. There's so much to it. And then when I look at the way Big Time was launched as a token, and you start to dive into the details, because this is decentralized, and you can see the contracts that are dishing out the Big Time token to players and how that's happening live. You can go check that out today. It's very easy, very quick. But you can also see that there's a wallet address that is just blanket airdropping token to players and everything, and it's not a contract. And that's almost concerning, because like, what if someone makes a mistake? What if a comma gets missed? I feel so safe if it was all contracts and it was all clean and like, okay, I know it's all there. But the fact that with this token, there's already a wallet address that's just can blanket airdrop, it's concerning, and I think it's going to be a big topic that's going to roll out. I think it's one of those fine details that, like, honestly, it had to get pointed out to me by someone wiser than me in this stuff. And I think it's going to be a big topic going forward, and how exactly tokens should be launched, even if they come in later, like they have had with Big Time.
Well, one thing to remember is Big Time is through open loot, and a lot of the sales, including the NFTs, give you a balance in your open loot wallet, and they have an economy with other games. So when you cash out, you basically are afforded, I can go ahead and cash out and off ramp completely to fiat, or I can stay in their ecosystem and spend and invest in other games. So they do kind of have an economy outside of big time as well because of that open loop system and partnerships. But I would agree that airdrop situation is a little bit of a red flag for sure. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Two things that I wanted to say really quick. I know we're running out of time here. Is I think launching the game with the token is the nut strategy, right? And so like that's what we're doing as well, right? We launched our NFTs first to develop our community and find a player base, which is pretty much non-existent, but in Asia it is. So we're getting a lot of traction here with some test communities. Number two is that coming from the online gaming world, real money gaming world where it's real money and stuff like that, right? Most of these gaming studios that haven't come from that like real world, background, real money background, their fraud and their security is going to be woefully inadequate. And part of that security is being able to audit on players' accounts to see whether or not they're fraudulent or not, right? And having that whole system. And so Axie had a big problem with that as well because they're casual game developers. I think, fat figuring a contract by mistake because it's in a wallet, right? And then, sending out like 10,000 tokens and that getting cashed out and that fucking up the liquidity. These are all major things that I think, once we even have good games, some games might be destroyed because someone fat fingered, a transaction and it just got fucked, So let's just see. There's so many learnings in like online poker and, all these gaming industries that have already been learned, but the level of, expertise that is being applied in Web3, sometimes I wonder, how many people are going to get fucked by it.
Well, we got two more topics. Quick fire. Unity CEO departure. Honestly, I mean, he sold a bunch of stocks. They made an announcement. Stuff went down, and then now he's retiring. It seems like he took the bag, lit the bridge on fire, and ran.
See you later.
Yeah, see you, buddy. I mean, good.
He got such a good check, bro. What a nice life, man.
See you later.
Well, this is corporate America, man.
I know. It's fucking awesome.
Tale as old as time. Good on him.
Yeah.
I've been.
I come from the banking sector, so this is something that like we saw maybe left to right, maybe once a week across different banks. So I mean, to me, this is nothing new here. It's not like it's like the oldest play in the book, to be honest with you. But look, I think at the end of the day, like we saw Unity being on fire over the past couple of weeks, and like developers, went back at it. They lashed at him. I mean, like there was a lot of things. I mean, this is the difference between Web3 and Web2, because in Web3, shit like this could happen, and like the CEO could fucking tell like crypto Twitter like go fuck off, and like he still be employed. In Web2, it just shows you like the professionalism is so still missed in Web3 because like this shit would never flow. Anything that happens in Web3 and Web2, because again, this guy's getting fired already, right? It's just
he's not getting fired. He's retiring.
He retired, right? But like in
he's
Web3,
stepping down.
There's plenty of CEOs that have done dumb shit, said dumb shit, have done dumb shit, and they're still around, right? It's because this Web3 space allows it. There's a lack of professionalism in how to do business still in this space, and that's because we're like super transparent, we're super the future. But like again, we still need certain practices from the Web2 space in order to succeed.
Good for the trust factor, though. I mean, the biggest thing was like, will people keep building on Unity, and at least it's a step in the right direction. Absolutely. So I think very positive all around.
Awesome. And in final news, we have Ripple's win against the SEC. It looks like the appeal was denied. So kudos there, I guess.
Let's talk about that deal once it's like signed, delivered, like every fucking lawsuit is possibly done. Because you know how long this lawsuit is? It's been years. I feel like
it's gonna keep going.
And
it can't be appealed at this court, but it can be still put up to another court.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, and it's wild because it's like every time we hear, this is it, I'm like, it's not it. Like we still have like more years to go before this thing even like really like burns and dies. But look, I don't even know, man. We still need regulation in Web3, right? We still need regulation for some of the stuff to prosper. I think I was talking to somebody, maybe it was Sinjin or somebody, or maybe Dub. Somebody talking about like, look at Web3 gaming in America and look at Web3 gaming across the countries in LATAM and in Asia and in Europe. Like, again, it's just like in Web3 in America is stagnant right now because of regulations. I mean, content creators in Web3 here in America can't even say certain things without being like, fuck, is that a security or not? Like, am I saying this the right way? Like, they don't know what to do. So how can you even promote the game? Like, there's just so many things here that like are holding us back. And again, a lot of it is regulation, but like, again, the rest of the world is moving and it's moving really fast. So to me, it's like Ripple and all this stuff. Once we see regulation, maybe then we'll move forward.
Exactly. I actually agree with you. I know that, people don't like regulation. They want to be able to do whatever they want to do. But I feel like regulation would actually add legitimacy to the space, at least within the US. I feel like a lot of the skepticisms come because it's unregulated and we see so many headlines of bad actors. Once we can clean it up and, hold people accountable, I feel like is the big thing. I mean, look at how many people are blowing up. They're pumping bags. They're profiting off of their following, and then they find themselves in trouble, and nothing even really happens, right? Like they just kind of fade off the face of the earth and disappear with the money and run. But there's never legal repercussions. I think SBF is probably the first big case that we've seen that they're going after him hard, and rightfully so, in my opinion. But
it's
look at like,
the SEC has been quite active even before Gary Glasner came in, right? Especially with ICOs back in 2017. But I won't dispute your point in general, though. But what I do want to say is that
look at BitBoy. Look how far he had to go to finally get arrested. He's done so much crap. He's dumped on so many people. He's made so much money off of others. And it wasn't until he went crazy and showed up at somebody's house with his mistress in the car trying to steal back a car that wasn't even his. Like, that's how far it went before the law finally did something about this guy.
Dude, you ever lost your Lambo?
What'd you say, Jorge?
I said, you ever lose your Lambo? Things change when you lose your Lambo. That's like, you're trying to joke on Twitter.
He's crying and begging for money whenever he's got a freaking mansion in the background. He's got a Rolex on his wrist. Like, this dude clearly has money and he's begging for more money. And nobody is stepping in. The law is not protecting anybody that he's profiting off of. But he goes out and breaks. Okay. He breaks a real world law, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, okay, now we got to do something about it." It's like, well, what about this?
Now, see, here's the thing, right? Like, we want to operate. There's a hypocrisy here, okay? Mm-hmm. We want to operate in an environment where it's free from regulation or a way for us to self-regulate and come to it. Yet, we want the authorities to come in when people get rugged or there's scammers running amok. And here's the thing with every new industry. In every new industry, usually they create like whatever association, like the blockchain association, the Web3 association, whatever like that. And people are like, who the fuck are these guys that create the association? But what's good about it, though, is that if this association has any legitimacy by the industry partners, they can start to self-regulate. And once they self-regulate, then they can also take on bad actors. They can whatever like this. And then they ease into regulation with a kind of private sector kind of guidance, right? Mm-hmm. But if we just basically allow rug pulls to happen, allow VCs to like make money off this and dump and promote this and let influencers do whatever the fuck they want. And then we only cry when we get burned, but yet we're basically letting them do illegal things because, we're part of the Ponzi easy, right? Then all bets are kind of off in terms of like how the government is going to step in because we haven't provided any self-guidance, right? And that's a hard fucking truth. And I say this not out of like, again, like a lot of the shit that I say, it's not out of my opinion. It's my actual experience having been, early at esports, early in online gambling, early in mobile, early in fintech. I was in fintech before it was called fintech, like payment processing. I sold my company Ali fucking Baba. Like, I know what the fuck I'm talking about, kids, and the fact of the matter is the US crypto market is a bunch of opportunistic fucking degens who are fucking crybabies. Right? That's it. Full on. Right? And you only want everyone to fucking step in when you fucking got burned because of BitBoy, but you let BitBoy happen. You worship BitBoy, and we let people worship because it's funny. Let's do a meme about BitBoy. Oh, he went to fucking Bahamas. Yeah, go BitBoy. Meanwhile, the guy's a fucking psychopath, or it seems so. Right? I don't know.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't know how we can also shift public perception. Yeah, no, that was 100% a mic drop. I don't know. I hopefully one day people wake up and realize they probably shouldn't be out there supporting people like this. But
it's too late now. I think like the Web3 games right now, and the games that are successful, they will dictate a new dialogue and a new way, just of how things are being done. But from what we've gone up to this point, we have totally just fucked ourselves. We totally fucked ourselves. Because you know what? Like, on Gamify, they say the founder cannot be bought, right? And the reason why I cannot be bought is no one wants to fucking invest with me. Because I want to do it the fucking right way. Seriously, right? You know how many times they've said, we like the game, but could you put in a token for us to like have so we have liquidity when we whatever? I'm like, no, because it's going to fuck the game up, right? Because the token is the incentive for the gameplay. And they're like, oh, well, we can't invest. Right. So they're basically it really comes down to like, you're not going to invest in my game because you can't exit and dump on my game. But by doing so, you'd fuck my game. But there are other games that you could fuck and the founders are fine with that. So you're going to go invest there. Okay, I get that, to be straight. Right. But I don't give a fuck. Because I know how to make motherfucking money. So if the game works and the game goes, then you can say, oh, fuck off back to your fucking little rat hole where you all came from anyways, right? But like to actually fight against all this, you can't, because my original point that I missed was that people don't want to speak out against certain influencers, certain VCs, whatever like that, because they won't get the funding, they won't get like the validation, and so they're afraid. Yeah. So some influencers come on a space and they're talking the shit, and other founders won't call them out because they don't want to like look bad. And meanwhile, I'll be like, hey, like shut the fuck up. You're being a dickhead right now. Right. And
and there's plenty of that in this space, right? Especially in gaming and Web3 gaming. There are so many like hosts and stuff like that, like that just look to entertain rather than give good knowledge. And that's because, again, the space likes entertainment, but like negative entertainment, right? And so, like, again, you see some of the stuff like when shit happens that all of a sudden 3,000, 1,000 people join into some of these spaces, and you're just like, why are you even supporting this? But it's a space. The space doesn't realize, like, in order to move forward, there's other boundaries and respect that you need to get in order to be able to move forward.
And on that point, I just want to say, I'm not here to hate on people or expose people. Like, they can do what they want, and you want to fucking be a Ponzi person and whatever, do it, right? But when that intersects with me, right, then, okay, then I'm going to fucking drop the hammer, right? Other than that, you guys go do what you're going to do. Because at the end of the day, there's this, I'm a fairly religious guy, actually. I know it doesn't seem like it at all. There's like Psalm 23, I walk in the valley, God is with me, I shall fear no evil. But there's one phrase that I think a lot of people don't understand is, he will prepare, a feast in front of my enemies. He will like lift me up, or so on and so forth. Right. And that's like a matter of like, when you're in a difficult time and everyone's against you, there's sometimes the most vengeance is that you make it, you're successful, and these people are irrelevant. Right, this entire period of the Ponzonomics and stuff like that, as soon as Web3 games come out that have that kind of trinity down and make it work, all the speculative shit will be like this much on the graph, right? Because the game and the entire industry will be this much, and it'll just be a little blip of history. And I think that's where all the real game developers who love games and who are building out of their own passion and want to see innovation, that will wash away all this other bullshit.
We can hope.
No, I will. Or I'll fucking take the hammer and start really bashing people.
With that said, it's Thursday. Today's World Cup qualifying. Ecuador's playing today. So for all my soccer fans and the FIFA fans, by the way, we need a FIFA tournament in Web3. When I don't know, but like WEN, when. And
don't get beat in your favorite
and
game.
South Africa's playing in the rugby quarterfinals.
And Influence ETH launched today their StarkNet application, so definitely go check out.
Is that another SoFi?
No. No, this is.
It's like fucking ragging on Ponzonomics and shit.
No, it's a fully on-chain EVE Online-esque types. Asteroids and spreadsheets.
So wait, This isn't fair. I'm at work, so I don't have a shirt to advertise. Rod,
It's brought to you by Columbia. It's a very nice outerwear line. Make great polos.
Wear Re-NF t-shirt. Rod, I need a jersey.
Dude, you're supposed to
Yeah, you need a jersey.
Oh man.
All right, guys.
Do you guys have anything else before we wrap this up?
Nah, I mean it's great to see activity in Web3 gaming. Like I'm stoked to stream and get 10,000 people viewing it. Like that's amazing. Want to keep doing shit. Like I'm really blown away. You know,
Were those botted or no botted numbers?
For sure botted.
For those that aren't watching the Block Sauce YouTube right now, Rod just put in chat that Block Sauce merch is coming soon. Dun dun dun.
I'll take the next call, Rod.
When collaboration with Xset, you know, like, hey, they made big news this week and they got a pretty quick clothing line.
Wow.
So,
oh man,
yeah, I'm sure that's a real profitable business over there. I bet they're doing great.
Hey, don't knock revenue streams, man. Don't knock revenue streams.
No, never.
Represent, my bad.
Sorry.
All right. Are you gonna say something, Jorge?
That's it for us to get the show before we get stuff going.
Well, that's going to be a wrap, folks. This was another great episode of the Block Sauce, but we are now going to come to a close. Before we say farewell, though, I just want to give a huge shout out to Jorge, Sinjin, and Adub for joining us yet again. Thank you guys for taking the time to join us every week. We also couldn't have done it without our amazing viewers and supporters. Your engagement and passion fuel our drive to bring you the hottest topics and thought-provoking discussions week after week. Remember, the sauce never stops flowing. Stay connected with us on social media, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys are aware, today we got the stream working on the Block Sauce Twitter. Me and Rod were hard at work on that all morning, so hopefully you guys enjoy being able to. Yeah. Dude, we've been hammering away at this. We could not figure it out. Like Rod could stream to it, but I can't. And then he found out he had to like launch it manually. So we think X might be doing some stuff on the back end for new accounts because the account is new for the stream stuff. But we got it working. So make sure you guys follow the Block Sauce on Twitter. It's at the Block Sauce with the 3 instead of an E at the end. So yeah, that's going to be it for today, Sauce enthusiasts. Join us next time for another thrilling episode of The Block Sauce, where we'll keep the gaming flame alive and the discussion sizzling. Stay saucy and keep gaming in the exciting realm of Web3. Have a good one.